loosen your strings and just cut them off. Don't waste any time messing around with strings. Just cut them off and get them off the guitar.
So this is the first urban myth. You can actually cut all the strings off at once. You don't have to change one string
at one
at a time.
time. This whole thing about change one string so it doesn't mess up your truss or your actions.
It's usually our age group or 50 plus that do one.
It's not good.
Not you, so don't worry about it.
You have to clean your fingerboard. It's imperative that you do this. You can't just change one string at one time.
So I'll pass these around.
Can I ask a question on
Yes.
Yeah.
Say for instance like a Les Paul with the saddle.
Yeah.
Obviously the string holding that in, that is kind of keeping your action on your bridge. So if you wanted to cut all of them off, all the looseners are falling apart. So could you keep two on?
No. It tells me that there's something seriously wrong with your Les Paul bridge. They're either held in with a retaining spring across the front edge or a very small circlip holds the insert, the saddle, into the bridge itself. If your saddle pieces are falling out, you have a problem with the bridge itself. It's failed you.
Maybe he's using the wrong tune.
Yeah, but my understanding is correct. You're saying that when you take all the string, the saddle inserts on the bridge fall off?
Not fall off, but like...
What do they do?
Because you can adjust the action with the screw on the side.
Yeah. Raise and lower, yeah.
Obviously, when you put tension on it,
Yeah.
those are free to move.
Yes, well, you take your bridge off,
You take your
tail piece off, and you clean your bridge with steel wool, and you get in there and clean all your inserts. If your saddles fall out, you've got it.
No, it's not saddles.
Good. No, take your bridge off. Clean your guitar. I mean, pull it apart. You can't
With a
destroy
toothbrush.
it. And it's not going to give you any problem with the break angle. Toothbrush,
That's
just
what I
get a
use.
toothbrush and get into it so that they don't oxidise, because they will. Those saddle pieces will. They're steel unless you've changed them to titanium. They're steel and they will oxidise. So
See these strings?
Yeah.
See all the stuff on them? The colour? Yeah. Right. So that's not what we want.
They are really cold, just to say.
Oh, weak.
Well, Ben's just like me. I mean, he murders the. I don't use the
That's
diary.
weak. I know.
There's no point.
Right. So I want us to look very carefully
Around here.
at these frets, strings. We're going to talk about frets. So these are deep scouring photos. We've got it here.
Yeah.
So if you want to just come and have a quick look, I'm not going to pass the guitar around.
You can come and have a look.
Come and have a
It's
quick
important
look.
to have a look at this.
You really need to see how
You can
deep
go home
these
tonight
frets
and spread
are.
your strings in the first 5 frets and
Move your strings apart.
Just spread
Check
them up.
this.
Just slide them apart.
And
It's got very deep potholes in the
And
frets.
it's also got a lot of finger jam on the fingerboard as well. See all that stuff? I'm going to get all of that off. These are really deep, and even up here. So I'm going to have to really use a very thing so you can see. Yes, it's all right. It's good.
It's good. It's good.
Really
it's been
good.
played and it's very common and there's no.
Yeah, it's
I'd
it's on the
rather
B
you look at that
string.
and know that a guitar's being played than
Well, it
it's a-
vibrates.
it's a wallflower.
It vibrates metal on metal. It'll do it. All right. So now you've seen it.
Lots of
So
wear.
the first thing I do, let's go back. Whoop, is this one? Is I tighten the nuts up here because I'm sure they'll be very
Tuner,
loose, the tuners.
The lock nuts. They're all loose, always loose.
Because if you're recording, apart from not wanting a sitar sound, you don't want your vibration from these either.
I've had so many people come and go, "Oh, there's something wrong with the headstock of my guitars." I just tighten the nuts up, it's fine. They wear loose. And people never ever, when they restring, think about this. I can't tell you how many people it's driven crazy. It's a 10 mil, universal 10 mil spanner. On whether it's American made or whether it's Japanese made, they use a 10 mil hex nut, with the exception of Spurzell, Spurzell USA use 12 mil. They're the only people in the world that do. Everybody else is 10 mil.
And I'm just using a toothbrush to clean around the edges of it because I'm fussy. It just cleans them up. And I'll put the whole of the tuner around the front, so when you're changing strings, it's easier. I align all the holes around to the front, and which is nearly there. Now, not at the moment,
No.
but I do, if it's really good, this is not grotty up here, but if it is, I put a little bit of Deox on there to,
Yeah, just a
if, they're-
tiny
if
bit.
it's rusty or we
Never
live on
use
the,
WD-40 on your guitar ever.
We live
so
on-
don't use it. It's for carburetors, but don't use it on guitars.
we live on the northern beaches of Sydney, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of rust and moisture in the air.
Yeah.
So often that's Deox is on that, on electric guitars on the saddles down here. Get all that stuff out. I do the dirty work. So this is the next bit of dirty work I'm going to do. Right, so I'm going to get all that finger jam off the fingerboard, and the way we do that is by using the Stanley blade. But we're going to pray now for this guitar because it has a history, doesn't it? It really has a history. It's done a lot of work. It's time to have some rejoicing, you know. And so, Lord, I just thank you for restoration of this guitar. And we do this with every Christian guitar we pray for. Thank you for the restoration of this guitar, that it has carried your sound and that it's a bit beaten up. And thank you, Lord, for the privilege of restoring it back to how it was made. And Lord, we just pray that the DNA in the wood that you created would be activated with the touch of our hands and the things that we're going to do to this guitar tonight to bring it back to your pleasure and your sound. And we just ask that in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Let's get into it. Right. So I'm doing scraping. Sorry if it makes a horrible sound.
So the fingerboard's rosewood. It's the hardest timber. That and ebony are the two hardest timbers you can use. A Stanley blade has no effect at all.
It doesn't. It just gets the stuff off
It
it.
just scrapes off Ben's DNA, pretty much.
Oh, man. Yeah, of course
Yeah,
you can.
of course.
Oh dear, I'm not even up. Look at that, I'm not even up to where you play.
That's
Yeah.
finger jam. That's
No,
just
it's not
years
wood.
of playing, years of finger
It's
jam.
oil and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. It's just sitting
Yep.
impregnated into the rosewood, and Joanne's
And it's just on
scraping
the
it
top
all
of
off.
it?
Sitting on top.
You know, this colour comes off even on black, on the black ebony.
On the ebony, yeah.
Yeah, it's not
There's
black that
balls,
comes off,
there's
yeah.
anything with ebony, it does the same.
This is the colour.
You don't
and-
have the same problem with maple because it's lacquered.
Yeah.
You can wipe it down.
And women who put hand cream on a lot and makeup, that's an interesting colour. That
Hair
comes
gel.
onto- hair gel or hair product on men. It's a good argument for washing your hands before you play your guitar.
And this stuff will stick to the underside of your brand new strings and kill them. Well, it'll kill a D'Addario. It'll deaden an A and an E string in 48 hours. It just sticks to the underside and immediately
Thank you,
oxidizes.
Lord. Has a really special feel to this guitar. I'm just saying, I can feel it as I'm doing it.
Steve, I went off the mixes, so I was always like breaking strings in the first time I played it. So that's probably a result of the guitar.
Absolutely.
But I didn't find any other string brand broke almost same day.
Really?
So I
On a Les Paul?
No, on my acoustic.
Made on.
That's the maiden that's coming, yeah.
Oh, thank goodness. I was about to take a great relief. It's like, I hope you brought your maiden. All right, well, that's good. Okay.
He's forgotten, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is the
you've
man.
got the bone. Okay, so you've gotten rid of the horrid black plastic rubbish. Okay, and you've got parts from Maiden. You're the one that's got all the bits and bobs.
Yep.
Perfect.
Right.
Perfect.
So it's looking a bit better already because I'm taking it back. This is the hardest bit up here.
You got an EM325C, yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Stanley blade. Now this next bit is really important as well because I have to go down the side.
Okay.
the side of the fret,
Good.
Still needs a bit of work.
Okay. Okay.
to get it all out of the fret slot. Otherwise, it can cause issues. Sorry, that's someone sending me a message. It's Australia time. So just getting all this out. And then we'll be up to bat now. Now that's clean.
Did you use the toothbrush yet? I missed that.
Only on here.
Around the
Just around there, yeah. That's all I normally use it for on acoustic guitars. It's the electric guitars that I'm down on the saddles and things with the Deox, getting it all clean. I can't stand, you know, when people leave their electric guitars out and it gets all dusty down there? And I'm going, but it still doesn't work, you know, down there. Yeah, so I like to keep it clean down there. And under bass, the bass saddles as well. Right, so we're back to the basic. Now we're going to use,
Do the frets now.
we're going to use sandpaper. Oh, mate, they're deep.
They are deep.
They are deep. Right, so I'm going to start off with 240.
Almost everybody in retail, there's not one retail shop that would not command a refret.
Yeah,
on them.
they'd say refret.
Straight away, they just say you need a refret. We're going to actually show you old school here, so this will be interesting.
So, yeah, it will be.
Yep.
Thank you, Lord. Okay, so this is 240 grit. So it's quite, you want to feel how that, right, that's going to be on your frets, all right? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So we're going across. We do this on all guitars. Every time we change strings, you don't have to use 240.
No.
But every time you change strings, you need to restore your frets. Otherwise, the string will go down in those divots and zing, zing, zing like they were. Now, because
It looks way more aggressive to you to the eye than in reality it is. This is only one grade away from sanding before we go into polishing. So 240, I mean, 80 grit is really aggressive, or 120, or 240. 240 where Joe starts is just because this is just so bad.
Yeah.
The frets
and I'm
are so deep.
also, I'm relying on, we need more gloves. I'm relying on the shape of my fingers, right, that does that.
Speed humps.
So it's curling over and then curling back. So it won't be flat. Well, they're not flat. You can see that. You all right?
Yeah.
Isn't this somehow how you feel sometimes with God? Oh, mate, he's doing that to me again, like this restoration, just stay still. I'll stay still, Lord, do it quick. All right. Such a great metaphor. Right, I'm nearly there. It's just that one in there. It's always the B string. Thank you, Lord. Come on. Come on. Oh, so close. Come on.
You probably got 400 now, Joe, and take
Yep.
the last of the
Yep.
any bellying out.
Yep.
So 240 grade sands and 400 sands.
Got it. Come on. Right. Did I get it?
Before you go on now, Joe, to finishing, I might do the crown over to save you a lot of leg
Oh,
room.
really?
Yeah, I'll do the 3-corner and then pass it
Do you
back
think it'll
for the
need
polishing.
3-corner?
Absolutely.
All right.
100%.
All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we've got
yeah.
rid of the worst stuff. Steve's just going to do some.
All right, so most people would use, and I have them, the crowning files, the diamond cut crowning files, but old school is a canter file, which is a specially shaped 3-corner triangular file that has the edges completely grinded down so that you're not going to cause any issues. And what I'm going to do here is where Joe definitely has got some crown back and we've gotten rid of all of the fret divots, so we're actually going to now have the strings sit correctly high on a crown. I'm going to drag as much pinnacle shoulder back as I can and then hand it back to Joanne to do the final polishing stage to bring it back, okay? So this will just take a little bit, but we'll move as quickly as we can. Yep,
I
okay.
didn't think it was too bad.
No, I want to give Ben a little bit more volume.
Okay.
So that's the plan. And I think we can do that.
Isn't it amazing how it's come back? Like, yeah.
You don't see a lot of this sort of cantilevering anymore, but it's really old school. It was the way people did frets up until the early 70s, mid to early 70s, when crowning files were sort of created. And then
do all of
sold
them?
on. Yeah, I'm just going to do 2 pieces to just sort of demonstrate what's going on here. And the reason I'm just going to use a little bit of tape is I don't really want to scour. I don't really want to scour the edges of frets. So the idea here is to let the file do all the work. And the file is easy to use. It does all the work, so it just runs backwards and forwards, and you can see in a minute, you'll see this really nice little crowned or rounded over edge coming into this file, which is going to allow the string to even have a much more focused crown. Okay, so there it is. Okay, if you want to have a look at that, you can see what the file has done. It's dragged the flat edge and then just pulled it straight over to the top. You can see this one up here is just flat, well, flat-ish. It's got a slight crown to it, but this one's now got focus. So
You're gonna
this
get so much
particular
volume
file
out of it.
just brings the frets back to a natural look and to the way they should be. And
You're going to do the whole lot, are you? Or just the first 5?
no, I've got to do a few.
Yeah.
It's imperative that we do this, but you know, this is an example. I want this to be sort of so you guys can sort of know what to do here. Ben's guitar had extreme fret wear, and there's not a person in this land that wouldn't have said,
Yeah.
"Oh, Ben, you need to refret." What we're going to demonstrate is that's not always the case, particularly if you're not financial. You know, and it's like, I haven't got £400 for a refret right now.
Is that how much it costs here? Does anyone
350,
know?
400 quid. Depends.
400.
I did have one done once, it was about 130.
Is it a bound fingerboard or an unbound fingerboard? It's the made-on. Made-on. So this is a bound fingerboard, which means that every fret has to be T-cut to size. Yours is unbound, so there's no binding on the 325 matins. So you just basically hammer them in, trim them up and shape. Very easy to do. This is a much more complicated, like Les Pauls and things like that.
Is that file like a certain grade or?
I don't know. Is it a certain grade? The
It's
file?
just a cantilever file, and it comes in what we call a medium mill grade, medium mill file. It's not a heavy file, it's a medium file because frets are 74% copper, so it's soft. You don't need, that's the other point, stainless steel, like Sir guitars now use stainless steel. If you have stainless steel frets, there's no fret wear. That's it, you just don't need a fret dress. And arguably no refret either. So you pay a lot more for stainless, but it's a love-hate. You either like that sound or feel of a stainless. It's quite an interesting feel. And John Suhr, I think, has really got it down pat now.
Yeah.
He's really good at it. And you pay a lot of money for the guitar.
This is going to sound really different. Really, really different.
So the reason we need a crown is we've got to get this face to move as much as possible. So if I've got the string sitting proud on the crown, I've got a translation of string energy greater to the face. And that's the name of the game, is I want this to move. It's been played for years and years, 30 plus years. It's played in, but I want as much dynamic range as I can get out of that soundboard, so that Ben can basically use every harmonic registration that's available to him. And dull frets or bad saddle wear, nut wear, fret wear, all of that is stealing string energy all the time.
Mm. Have you got a second guitar? A second acoustic guitar? You'd really benefit from having two. That's a good thing to tell your wife, isn't it? But it's serious, it is, if you're a leader, to have two, because if something goes wrong, or have two identical ones anyway. We really encourage worship leaders, worship pastors to have the two. And then one can go in for service, or the other one. It just spreads out the damage.
Did you get a new bone nut with your Maton as well?
Yeah.
That's a very, very good price.
Sorry?
I'll be interested to see the fret job tomorrow. Be very interested. That's a very good price.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear your feedback.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very good price for a refret. That's.
Is it a full refret or just the first five?
Total refret?
Well, the first five were the ones that were most tight in, so I assume it could have been a half.
Well, a partial refret, but he should have stated that, because that sounds like a partial refret pricing to me. If that's a total refret, the guy's going to go broke. So get in now, everybody.
Yeah, you do. Seriously, yep.
Can I get that right?
Yes. Yeah, well, once we started doing that, there's a couple of
Okay, Joe, that's good.
leaders, worship leaders that we've said that to, and
They're
they
all
did.
restored. You can continue
Thank you.
on. There's just a couple.
Right.
400. There's a little bit more marking, just I think on the fourth.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
A little
then.
bit on the third and fourth.
Yep.
So just a bit of 400, and that'll be gone
Yep.
in seconds, and then you can go into
Yep.
polishing.
Got to have a good light for this. Right, so I've done 240 and 400, and I'm now going to go to 600 grit, which is where the polishing starts. So in the factories they only go to 600, and then whereas we go up to 2000. So you're going to have better polished frets than the actual factory does. So at 600, I'll hold it up in a second. You wouldn't even know that this had fretware. At 600, that's what it's looking like already, all right? So we're going to go further because we love going further. So it's 800. What are the possibilities? So 800, and then 1200, which is really, really smooth. And then 2000, which is basically, as someone said last night, feels like nice writing paper.
Yep.
Right. So, come and have a look at this now. Yeah? Yeah, what a transformation. You're going to cry when you play this, I'm serious. Or we're going to cry, one or the other. All right, so the next thing I do is we get the steel wool or the wire wool. And this is the ultra fine wire wool. It's the best ever. It's made here in the UK. So we usually buy a few of them. Few of them and take them back because it's really expensive at home to bring it in. So this is giving it the final, it's Jeweller's steel wool, so it's really fine. It'll be really, really shiny. So I'll just do a few of the frets. It also cleans up the fingerboard a bit more as well. And then I'll lift it up and you'll be able to even see the difference again.
All of this stuff that Joanne's doing with sandpaper and steel wool, what it's actually doing, not only have we scraped back the rosewood, but it's actually slightly standing up the grain.
Yep.
And what that's doing is it's encouraging whatever oils and moistures left in the rosewood to stand up, to come back to the surface.
Right. So, and that looks stunning under lights. You know, in your film clips and everything, you know, having the frets like that and a clean, shiny face is just amazing. Amazing. Sparkle for the Lord. Sorry.
Do you recommend like a lemon oil?
No.
No,
No, we'll talk about that in a minute.
All lemon oils or all acids, citric or otherwise, are dehydrants. They're not rehydrants. I have no idea how lemon oil made its way into the game. I just don't
It's
know.
another urban myth.
I just don't know how. I never sold it in my store. We were only interested in botanicals, and that is oils, and a lot of people used linseed oil in very small quantities, although it leaves a residue, but it's way better than lemon oil. It's a citric acid.
And
I heard
lemon
somebody
oil-
say, oh, but it's only got a small amount. I said, who cares? It's acid.
Lemon oil actually
doesn't matter.
discolours the wood, the rosewood as well. We worked on a Jazz Master today, and I knew straight away when I saw it, it was really dark.
Yep.
The rosewood was really dark, and that wasn't the right colour. So I scraped it and revealed the true colour. He was like, he'd bought it second hand, and it was the fellow that owned it before that had done it. But it sort of makes the rosewood go really flat looking.
Yeah.
It's
It doesn't bring back any
No,
of the natural colour. While
not the
botanical will
colours.
feed the rosewood.
yeah. So I'm doing it this way to clean the frets, and now I do this in case there's any cross marking or anything. Right. So now we have very shiny. Very shiny.
Frets are now totally crowned, so we're not going to get any more buzzing. That's gone now.
Buzzing's gone.
Buzzing's over. We've now got each and every string and each and every fret. That string will sit high on a crown.
Wow. I'm amazed, I have to say. It's really good. So the next step, we do even more shining on those frets to get them standing up. We use, love Auto Glim car products from Halfords.
Yeah.
Always like having a little trip there. I had one today. And so I just put the metal polish in a little jar so I don't have to carry the big one around. So this is metal polish. Fender uses Meguiar's
Yeah,
in
or this
their
American car
cleaning.
products. Yeah.
But it's way cheaper to buy these than it is the
Yeah.
Fender or guitar
All the
products.
Fender polishes that you go into the music stores are all in little bottles with Meguiar's on the front, and Meguiar's is an American automotive polishing company. And because a guitar's way smaller than a car, you're better off going to the car shops and buying a big bottle of it for 10 quid instead of a tiny one for 10
Yeah.
quid, okay? And it'll last you a lot longer.
And you'll have it for a long
Yeah.
time, not
all,
like us.
All polishes in the music business, with the exception of a few like Martin and the sort of milky thing they use, they're all basically absolutely brought across from automotive, because automotive people are fanatics. They hate two things. The biggest thing they hate is silicon, on their finish, because if they've got an old car and it's lack of finish, silicone coat will make your finish so hard on the car that if you need to touch it up, the guy who's going to do the touch-ups has got to get through your silicone. So no car products of any standing have any silicone base, and yet there are 2 guitar companies who still use silicone who will remain nameless. So I suggest you stay with car products, as every guitar builder and luthier in the world does.
Okay, so now we have a bonnet buffer as well. Okay, that you can buy on Amazon.
Amazon UK, £22.
Because we do way too many guitars to do this by hand with paper towel. All right, so
Not quite as noisy as this usually, but I've got a very live room.
what?
These earmuffs.
I'm just really looking at the frets.
Just use the
Look at them now. Yee-hee.
So in the factory, for example, Maton, they have very large buffing pads, and there's a whole bunch of, there's 3 or 4 people who just stand there buffing up, and that's when you buy a new guitar. That's how it should be. You know, it should be buffed.
Then to get the metal polish
Just
off.
put it on the
What?
towel rather than squeeze it on. I'm not comfortable with this squeezing on the fingerboard thing on this old guitar. I just want it put on the towel
Okay.
and wiped off. Yeah.
So we use lighter fluid, which I had to go all over Norwich to find
Yes.
today. I thought, usually last time I was here, I bought it in Poundland. Then I went to B and M, cheap one, you know, because you go to the vapes section just for this. And then neither of them had it, and I had to go to Morrison's, and they actually had it for the first time.
It's hard to get here.
So it's hard to get. We buy it in big 5 litre bottles.
Big 5 litre, and in America they call it naphtha. When you read any of the guitar repair books, it's like, get your naphtha out and you can put it on your vintage finish and get all your goop and sticky bits off. This is an evaporative product. It's a petroleum-based product, but it's evaporative, but it's not effectively a solvent for anything. Whilst methylated spirits and turpentine, are both solvents. You never use them on any guitar finish ever. Particularly if you're anywhere near a vintage guitar, it will melt the finish. They're solvents. So this will damage nothing. It can be put on a violin, cello. It has no effect on any shellacs. It has no effective effects on anything guitar, nitrocellulose lacquer, vintage, and none of these modern finishes, which is all polyurethane or polyester.
Okay. Now,
it just gets all the metal polish residue off and out.
the fingerboard's back, one thing. So let's go to this. So they're the Zippo and all that metal polish. This is what we use. It's called F1 oil,
Nomad Care,
and
yeah.
it's by Music Nomad Care. We just had to, it leaked, so we had to put tape around it. So because this one hasn't been
for years.
rehydrated for you, I just do that. I just go, but normally you do a little thing,
thing.
and then I massage it in, and I hear it. Listen. It's going. Oh yes. Yes, yes, yes. And all the beautiful rosewood colours are coming through. Oh, how nice. This is really caramel.
It's really good to
It's
engage your wives in
really
this, guys.
caramel.
It's really good. I mean, it's
Sorry.
just like a day spa for guitar for these guys.
Oh, it's really nice.
It's like a facial.
It is a facial. And then you just wipe off the excess.
Yeah, get it all off, yeah.
Otherwise, because you don't want that on the bottom of your strings either.
It just comes off.
And then you've got this beautiful fingerboard and lovely frets. And that's the most important thing of the whole setup, you know, because if the frets aren't restored, then you're not going to be able to play. Oh, look at that. Now, yeah, so that's what we're looking at now. Look at your look on your face. Yeah, and that's how it was, kind of like that at the beginning. So I'm just going to wipe down the body now of it. We're going to have to fix all this tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, with any of the wear-through stuff, I guess for me, people sort of worry about,
Rapid Detailer.
is it going to get better? It won't get better. You can use, and I bought this yesterday,
There it
so
is.
you can buy this, where did I get it from? B&Q. So this is just sort of Gorilla Super Glue brush-on nozzle. So what I'm going to do for Ben tomorrow, because this is a polyurethane finish, which essentially is 20 micron thick Glad wrap, sandwich wrap is really what the guitar's wrapped in. I'm going to use super glue on all of those bare woods, and I'm actually going to paint it in. And when you use super glue with a brush, when it dries, it actually looks like lacquer. It looks like nitro, so it looks like you've gone and had it all touched up. But what it really does is this stuff really stops and prevents you from punching a hole through the guitar eventually and turning it into trigger,
Willie
Nelson's trigger. So we don't really want to see the braces through the face. And anybody can do that. So if you have wear spots that have just been there for years and you just still want to keep the patina and keep it looking funky, just seal it with this stuff. With just super glue. Same.
So I'm not
CA
going
glue.
to do too much cleaning on the front of that because we'll be spending some time on it
tomorrow. Just
so.
doing that.
So now an important part of acoustic guitars is the side, because this is when you get marks, usually from spit. You haven't. A lot of musicians do. And you can see it on really shiny guitars. So there's all spit down here. Old ukulele players are the worst.
Ukulele.
Oh, mate, it must be their false teeth or
I
something.
don't know what it is. It's
I
just
don't
covered
know
in
what
spit.
it is.
Bits of food. It's
Mate, it's all over there. It's just wipe it down. But this is
Joanne
not bad.
is terrible. It's
I
like,
know.
You got hamburger on your ute. What are you doing?
Oh, mate. It's just awful. See, I have to do all these dirty bits, Steve gets to do it when it's all clean. But see, so wiping down the side, that's lovely, isn't it, really?
Joe's in the hazmat department.
I am. I changed my glove.
This is just a spray and shine from Auto
Rapid
Glim.
Detailer.
I love Auto Glim polishes.
And the smell of it, can you smell it? It's really
Smells like
nice.
bubble gum.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, very, very.
Same brand, though.
Same brand, though.
Yeah.
There's metal polish. They do a spray and shine, like a shine thing out of the squeezy. And then they do a deep resin, which is, if I really want to bring your colour back, I'll use the Auto Glim resin polish, which is
I can't
cream.
get into doing the Gibson guitars, the finish on them. It's too hard.
It's nitro.
For me, and it's nitro, so I just leave it, and Steve does.
I
it
do a
with
lot of the
with
nitro
resin.
finishes in a process. I'm 64, but anybody who's 10 years older than me goes, mate, don't you dare. They said, don't even polish it. There's nicotine stains and there's spit and stuff and bits of hair, and it's like, don't even polish it, don't even look at it.
All right, so now this guitar, it's restored. All the frets are restored.
Yeah.
It's still dry. Is it dry?
So it looks like it's had a refret.
Yeah.
It's all nicely crowned. You look from the side, and we've got a crown back for sure. And as I said, it's an absolute. If Ben had walked into any retail shop, mate, need a refret.
Yep.
So we're not going to work that game. So we're just going to prove that you can do this. I'm just going to remove this saddle.
Yep.
So it's had all this packing put in it, obviously, over the years. And an old trick, which is a piece of mahogany that's glued to the bottom of the saddle. And what it does, what I do a lot of this, what it does is pizzos have a habit of sounding very quacky or very aggressive when you hit them hard. So you get this sound coming out of pizzos, and if you glue on a piece of maple veneer or mahogany veneer, it just takes that top end on the E and the B string, that really bitey sound. It just rolls it off nicely. So it makes it a more mid-rangey sound.
So he does black,
Alternative.
black, white, or white, black, white, black.
Matters not.
Okay.
Checkerboard.
I just thought I'd.
It's all good.
There you go.